Do you still remember that George Jefferson-style smile and the sharp exchanges in the Jeffersons? Behind that humor, the lives of many actors ended in heartbreaking deaths from brutal robberies, painful illnesses, and terrifying addictions. Let's explore the truth and pay tribute to the legacies they left behind. Let's go. Isabelle Sanford as Louise Wheezy Jefferson. Isabelle Sanford, birth name Eloise Gwendolyn Sanford, was born on August 29, 1917, in Harlem, New York. When she took on the role of Louise Wheezy Jefferson in The Jeffersons in 1975, she was 58 years old, bringing with her a graceful, intelligent, and somewhat rebellious air of a seasoned woman, becoming an American television icon for more than a decade. She took her last breath on July 9, 2004 in Los Angeles, at the age of 86, after many months of fighting complications following carotid artery surgery. The officially announced cause was natural health exhaustion, but in reality, post-surgical infections had rapidly weakened her body. Her net worth at the time of death was estimated at around $3 million, coming from royalties from the Jeffersons, advertising contracts, and some quiet real estate investments. Isabelle married William Edward Sonny Richmond in 1945, a kind-hearted painter who, however, lacked empathy for his wife's stage dreams. Long-standing conflicts, compounded by financial hardships, caused their marriage to crack. Isabelle had to endure neglect and even emotional abuse from her husband, which led to her resolute decision to take her 3 children and leave the past behind in New York, starting a new life in Los Angeles. She struggled to raise her children alone while still holding on to her dream of standing on stage, then found the spotlight with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner in 1967, and later with All in the Family from 1971, a great stepping stone that led her to her life-changing role in The Jeffersons. When her career slowed down after 1985, Isabelle also had to fight many age-related illnesses, especially atherosclerosis, which forced her to undergo neck surgery in 2003, beginning a series of prolonged complications. Her body gradually weakened, but inside she was still brave, refusing to give in to fate. Today, audiences still remember Isabelle Sanford as a pioneering icon who turned Wheezy Jefferson into a symbol of strong black women. Sherman Hemsley as George Jefferson. Sherman Alexander Hemsley was born on February 1, 1938, in South Philadelphia. When he took on the role of George Jefferson in the series The Jeffersons in 1975, he was 37 years old, bringing to life the image of a successful black man, arrogant yet extremely charming and lovable, becoming the irreplaceable soul of this sitcom throughout its 11 seasons. He took his last breath on July 24, 2012 in El Paso, Texas, at the age of 74, after many months of battling a malignant lung tumor that caused superior vena cava syndrome. This was a rare but extremely dangerous complication, making Sherman's breathing short and increasingly weak until he passed away right at his home. His net worth was estimated at around $800,000, mainly from royalties from the Jeffersons and a small house in El Paso, but not much more due to his frugal lifestyle and almost no additional investments. Hemsley never married, had no children, and was very private about his personal life. He spent most of his post-fame years living withdrawn, rarely appearing, although he still took on some similar comedy roles in Amen, 1986-1991, or voice acting in Dinosaurs. Some close friends shared that Sherman found it hard to open up, often doubted the intentions of those who approached him, and sometimes fell into isolation. In his final years, he had to undergo chemotherapy and radiation therapy simultaneously, but the lung tumor continued to grow, leading to vascular compression complications and causing his death. His love life was almost a blank page, leaving behind only a few faint friendships, among them Flora Enchinton, to whom he left his entire estate, but who was also sued by a half-brother of Sherman. Roxy Roker as Helen Willis. Roxy Albertha Roker was born on August 28, 1929, in Miami, Florida. when she took on the role of Helen Willis in The Jeffersons. In 1975, she was 46 years old, bringing the image of an intelligent, courageous, and humorous woman, helping to break stereotypes by portraying one half of the first interracial couple to appear regularly on American primetime television. She passed away on December 2, 1995, in Los Angeles, at the age of 66, after many years of battling breast cancer. The prolonged treatments had exhausted Roxy's health, and when the disease recurred and metastasized, she no longer had the strength to continue chemotherapy. Her remains were buried at Southern Memorial Park in North Miami, near where family members were laid to rest. Her net worth at the time of her passing was estimated at about $1.2 million, mostly from royalties from the Jeffersons and the value of real estate in Los Angeles. Roxy's married life was also full of turbulence. She married producer Cy Kravitz in 1962, despite heavy social pressure against an interracial marriage. They had one son, none other than Lenny Kravitz, who would later become a rock legend. But the marriage gradually broke down due to differences in life perspectives and family disagreements. They officially divorced in 1985, leaving Roxy with emotional wounds that were hard to heal. During that time, she still tried to contribute to the community, appearing in Roots in 1977 and guest starring in Fantasy Island and Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, showing that her passion for the arts never faded. However, illness quietly crept into her private life, forcing her to be hospitalized many times, and in the end, she permanently left the stage just as Lenny Kravitz was touring in Europe, unable to return in time to be with his mother. Franklin Cover as Tom Willis. Franklin Edward Cover was born on November 20th, 1928 in Cleveland, Ohio. When he took on the role of Tom Willis in The Jeffersons in 1975, he was 47 years old, bringing to life the image of a white husband who loved his black wife, gentle and upright, becoming an important part of the first interracial couple to appear regularly on American primetime television. He passed away on February 5, 2006, in Englewood, New Jersey, at the age of 77, after many months battling pneumonia while recovering from heart disease at the Lillian Booth Actors Home Nursing Facility. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at about $900,000, coming from royalties from the Jeffersons along with savings accumulated over decades of work. Franklin married Mary Bradford Stone in 1965, a dance company director, and they had 3 children together. Their marriage lasted until his passing, becoming a solid emotional support that helped him cope with professional uncertainties. Even though he was successful with the Jeffersons, Franklin still struggled to break out of the shadow of the Tom Willis role, being typecast many times in the roles of kind neighbors in series such as The Love Boat and Columbo. Alongside professional pressures, Franklin also had to fight prolonged heart disease, which weakened his health and forced him to completely stop stage activities in his later years. Nevertheless, Franklin Cover is still remembered by audiences as one of the artists who dared to break stereotypes, spreading the image of a genuine, loving, multiracial family. Zara Cully as Olivia Mother Jefferson. Zara Frances Cully was born on January 26, 1892, in Worcester, Massachusetts. When she took on the role of Olivia Mother Jefferson in The Jeffersons in 1975, she was 83 years old, bringing to the screen the image of a sharp-tongued but also kind-hearted and warm mother-in-law, becoming a source of spiritual support for the other characters. With her dignified demeanor and skilled voice, Zara won over audiences, leaving a profound mark even though she only appeared in the first 3 seasons of the series. She took her last breath on February 28, 1978, at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, at the age of 86, after a period of battling lung cancer despite never having smoked, a rare paradox that even surprised the doctors. In addition, complications from pneumonia and lung collapse had once forced her to stop filming The Jeffersons for a time, making her already fragile health even weaker. Her net worth was around $500,000, coming from television royalties and savings accumulated after many years teaching drama. In her personal life, Zara married James M. Brown, Jr. in 1914, and together they had 4 children. Their marriage lasted more than half a century, providing her with solid support, especially when facing the harsh prejudices aimed at black actors during that era. After her husband passed away in 1968, Zara poured all her energy into the stage, teaching, and taking on small roles before achieving a breakthrough with the Jeffersons. Advanced age, along with lung disease, forced her to take breaks from filming many episodes in the 3rd season, but she still insisted on returning to the set whenever she could, as proof of the unyielding spirit of a true artist. Ned Werimer as Ralph Hart. Edward Ned Werimer was born on October 27, 1923 in Buffalo, New York. When he took on the role of Ralph Hart, the doorman who loved to angle for tips in the Jeffersons in 1975, he was 52 years old, bringing a witty, cunning, yet lovable charm to the character, becoming a familiar face across 57 episodes over more than a decade. He passed away on January 2, 2013, at a medical center in Los Angeles, at the age of 89, after many months of not recovering from a serious fall at his home in Burbank at the end of 2012. This accident led to pneumonia complications and a rapid health decline, which he could not overcome. Ned's family arranged his funeral with care, and he was buried simply in California. His net worth at the end of his life was estimated at about $700,000, mostly coming from the Jeffersons' royalties and a union pension fund. Ned's marriage to Dr. Skine Uku, a respected professor, lasted for decades, but also went through plenty of turbulence because of heavy work schedules and financial fluctuations after the Jeffersons ended. Later on, Ned continued taking on many small roles on television, but was often typecast into supporting characters, leading to a career that could no longer break through like in its heyday. This created a distance in his private life, making him more withdrawn and mostly attached to union activities, quietly contributing to the acting community. Even though he was not the brightest star, Ned proved that dedication and a passion for acting could still leave a deep mark, creating an unforgettable part of American sitcom history. Paul Benedict as Harry Bentley. Paul Bernard Benedict was born on September 17, 1938 in Silver City, New Mexico. When he took on the role of Harry Bentley, the polite British neighbor who loved to tell long-winded stories in the Jeffersons, he was 37 years old, bringing a charming sense of humor and a very distinctive gentleman quality that made him one of the most beloved supporting characters of the series. He took his last breath on December 1, 2008, at his home in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, at the age of 70, due to a sudden brain hemorrhage. For many years, Benedict had quietly battled the after-effects of acromegaly, a syndrome that causes excessive growth of bones and cartilage, significantly impacting his overall health. Although he had undergone surgery and treatment from a young age, complications from the disease, along with high blood pressure, continued to follow him. After his passing, he was buried simply and privately. His net worth at the time of his death was around $600,000, mostly coming from royalties from the Jeffersons and modest savings after many years in the business. Benedict's life was a struggle between a love of the arts and the burden of illness. Acromegaly changed his face significantly, making him shy in social interactions and even fearful of intimate relationships. Paul never married, and his insecurity about his appearance caused him to be hesitant about love, leading to a lonely, single life. Nevertheless, Paul still worked to build a career, using his unusual appearance as a humorous highlight on screen. He won over young audiences with the role of the number painter on Sesame Street and appeared in famous mockumentary films such as This Is Spinal Tap and Waiting for Guffman. Although he always hoped to find bigger roles, he was repeatedly typecast into eccentric, comedic characters, which prevented his career from fully breaking through. Today, Paul Benedict is still remembered as a dedicated artist who turned a flaw into an advantage and used it to bring laughter to audiences. Mike Evans as Lionel Jefferson. Michael Jonas Evans was born on November 3, 1949 in Salisbury, North Carolina. when he joined the Jeffersons in the role of Lionel Jefferson. In 1975, Evans was only 26 years old, representing the image of a strong, confident, and ambitious young black generation striving to rise in American society. He passed away on December 14, 2006, at his mother's home in 29 Palms, California, at the age of 57 after a long battle with throat cancer. The rounds of chemotherapy left Evans exhausted, and his voice, the most precious tool of an actor, gradually faded away, plunging him into depression. Although he owned valuable real estate in California thanks to smart investments, Evans still faced financial pressures due to the long-term costs of treatment. His net worth at the time of death was estimated at about $2 million, mostly coming from royalties from the Jeffersons, Good Times, and real estate. In his personal life, Mike Evans never married, partly because of the tensions within the industry, along with a heavy work schedule balancing both acting and script writing. Leaving the role of Lionel after the first season to focus on creating Good Times once caused tensions with the production team and also left him conflicted when he had to return later to keep his career alive. On top of that, throat cancer struck like a fatal blow, gradually taking away his chances to work and closing off a love life that was already fragile. Larry Lynville as Lyle Block. Lawrence Levon. Lynville was born on September 29, 1939, in Ojai, California. In 1981, at the age of 42, he appeared in The Jeffersons as Lyle Block, the strict hotel manager in the spin-off series Checking In, which was part of the Jeffersons universe. Although the role was brief, it left a strong impression thanks to Lynville's sharp voice and piercing gaze, making audiences remember him as the perfect villain figure. After this role, Larry Lynville continued his career in television and film, but could never escape the massive shadow of the character Frank Burns in MASH. His life came to a close on April 10, 2000, at the age of 60, at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York, after pneumonia complications following cancer surgery. Lynville's ashes were scattered off the coast of Bodega Bay, California. A peaceful ending for an artist's life full of struggles. Although his final years were not overly wealthy, he still left behind an estate of about $4 million, mostly from royalties from MASH, the Jeffersons, and savings after decades of dedication. Lynville's marriages were full of fractures, with 5 marriages in total, and only one daughter, Kelly Lynville, born in 1970. The first 2 bitter divorces nearly broke him, and relationships with later wives were also far from peaceful. In 1998, a sudden bout of cancer struck, and doctors had to remove part of his lung to extend his life, but it also left his health severely weakened. Amid those ordeals, Lynville still managed to leave his mark in Herbie, The Love Bug, 1982, and Paper Dolls, 1984. But it was Frank Burns of MASH that became both his greatest glory and the chain that bound his life. A talented yet lonely artist, Larry Lynville carried both the brilliance and the regrets of his life with him when he passed away. Bernard Fox as Andrew Derrick. Bernard Lawson, known to audiences around the world by his stage name Bernard Fox, was born on May 11, 1927, in Port Talbot, Wales. When he turned 55 years old, he appeared in The Jeffersons as Andrew Derrick, bringing to life the image of a sophisticated British gentleman with a slightly satirical air, true to the humorous style Fox had shown many times before. Although the character of Andrew Derrick was only brief, it was enough for viewers to remember his charm and distinctive appeal. Bernard Fox passed away quietly on the morning of December 14, 2016, at Valley Presbyterian Hospital in Van Nuys, California, at the age of 89. The confirmed cause was heart failure, a peaceful ending after a long life full of ups and downs. Even though he had appeared in dozens of hit movies, Fox left behind an estimated net worth of about $1.5 million, mostly from royalties and personal real estate, enough to provide peace of mind for his family, but not an extravagant fortune. Bernard Fox's marriage lasted with his only wife, and his two daughters, Amanda and Valerie, were his greatest pride. But behind the charming exterior, Fox had to face rumors of broken relationships with relatives and even a drinking problem that troubled him for a long time. After Bewitched, he continued to make an impression in Titanic in 1997 as Colonel Archibald Gracie IV, proving the class of a seasoned artist, even though the spotlight had partly faded after he turned 70. The journey of the Jeffersons left a mark not only through its laughter-filled episodes and profound messages, but also through the real-life stories behind its cast. Do the dramatic fates of Isabelle Sanford, Sherman Hemsley, or Victor Killian make you look at this show in a new light? Share your favorite character from the Jeffersons and your thoughts about their stories in the comments. And don't forget to like and follow to discover even more behind-the-scenes secrets about these television legends.